So this week's episode of the Lovefly podcast, we welcome CL. Welcome.
Hello, welcome.
I've had the briefing, short. Yeah, I'm looking forward to your story. I saw your notes, and so I think this would be quite an interesting one, particularly. And I think there'd be some nice, inspiring elements to it, having seen what you overcome. So welcome to it, and tell us about yourself.
So I am CL, short for Claire-Louise. And if people call me Claire-Louise, I just think my mum's telling me off. So that's why I said call me CL. And that stems from my fear of flying, weirdly, because it's my mum that has the fear of flying. She did her fears onto me. So that's it. I live in Liphook in Hampshire, so I'm English, obviously. But very, very brief background. I'm adopted from the Philippines. My parents are Irish, so I've lived all over the world, traveled all over the world since I was a baby, been on planes from 6 months old. I've been on many, many flights. And yeah, it's really, really strange because everyone's like, how could you have ever had a fear of flying? You've been on so many planes, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so from when I sort of became a bit more like in my 20s, I was like, where has this come from? Like, this is really strange. And then I sort of
did it sort of like kind of sneak up on you then?
I do remember one flight when I was probably about 8 or 9, going somewhere in Malaysia or Asia area, going to maybe it was to Indonesia, one of those. I think I was living in Singapore.
Oh my goodness, you're sounding so international, Oh, where was it again?
Where was it? And I remember it being a really very turbulent flight. And I think there was a thunderstorm. And I remember my mum just gripping onto me as a child and being like, oh, and I was just like, yeah, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I remember that vividly, as probably the first time I was actually scared of flying. But after that, I've had sort of fairly smooth flights, a little bit turbulent here and there. But
so do you think, CL, that someone would get used to saying so, that you're from that moment onwards, that was it, or do you think you were kind of still a bit like, oh, it's a bit weird, but didn't think anything else of it?
What from what being?
That
one flight. I think it probably was from that one flight. We did fly back with my daughter once from Japan. And my mum said to me, "I'll fly over and visit us in Japan and I'll fly back with you and we'll be fine because, the two of us are terrible." And she just sat there the whole time and I was with my daughter. So I was trying to look after her and she said, "I'll help you with her." And she did nothing. I was like, "You're helping me. All you're doing is sitting there gripping hold of
holding the aircraft up."
Yeah, I was like, "You're not helping." She was like, "Why is the air hostess looking at me like that?" I was like, "She's fine." And I was reassuring her. Oh, she's just, worried she's left her, light on in her house or something. I was like, "She's absolutely fine, Mum." And then she said, the pilot said at the beginning this was going to be a smooth flight and it's really bumpy. And I was like, well, sometimes you just, and I was reassuring her. Sometimes we hit turbulence because I had done my fear of flying course, you see. Because in my 20s, I decided that enough was enough. I have to fly to visit family. I need to get over this fear. So I decided to book myself into a fear of flying course I think it was at Heathrow. It was a BA one. So did that. And I learned quite a lot from that. And then I just was helping my mum on that flight. I remember it quite a lot. But she still hasn't got over that. So I refuse to fly with her now.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So how did your kind of fear of flying show itself? What sort of symptoms did you have? And
definitely clammy hands. That was my thing. Like, I couldn't touch anyone. My very, very clammy hands. Just the heart palpitations. I didn't really want to talk to anyone. Like, people would try and people who were on a plane together, they'd try and talk and try and, like, I don't know, like, just trying to keep me, I don't know, like, occupied. And I was like, "Please don't talk to me. I'm looking out the plane and I'm looking down because I always had to sit by the window as well." That was a contrived thing. I was like, have to see where we're going. I need to see everything. So that was my thing. Always had to be by the window. And now
you sound like a bit of a nightmare in the nicest possible way. I mean it with warmth, obviously.
Yeah. But no, that just, for me now, looking back at the way I was and where I've become, it's like, God, I must have been an absolute nightmare sitting next to somebody. She's like, "Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Give me a glass of wine and I'll just drink that because obviously you think that's going to help you.
Did you stop flying as a result of it, or do you reduce? You still kept going, but you just. And what about beforehand? Do you have the anticipatory stuff that a lot of people have?
Not as much. What, after the fear of flying course, did I?
No, before, you know, before.
Oh, yeah, I did have it. I did have it. It was quite bad. Probably not as bad as most people, I would say. You know, when I did the fear of flying course, there were a lot of people when you take off and you circle around Heathrow or something and you come back down again. The people that were on the course, some of them couldn't even get on. They were like breathing in paper bags, and I was watching them going, "Oh God, they're really bad. Like, actually that bad. I'm not as bad as them, so I can overcome this." And I sat next to a gentleman who hadn't flown for 40 odd years, and he wanted to go with to a family birthday or something, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I can't imagine not flying because I had to fly. And he was like, I have to get over this. And it's like, okay. So yeah, definitely helps knowing what's happening as well.
So what made you go, enough is enough, and I'm going to do something about this?
I think I had a lot of flights coming up. I think I was heading off to Australia to see an ex-boyfriend of mine. And I thought, how am I going to do this? Am I going to get all the way across the world on my own? Because I was flying on my own as well. So that's when I booked it in. And yeah, I think that's what it was. It was because I knew I was going to be doing it on my own. So I was like, I have to be able to be okay on my own to fly.
So was your fear of getting worse?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it definitely was. And I think as you get older, as an adult, you become more aware of things. Whereas a child, you just get on and you're just like, yeah, whatever. But as you get older, you hear a noise and you're like, what's that noise? Why are that pinging? What's this? What's that? And yeah. So I kind of was like, I really need to know what these pings are.
Right.
Want to know what the bing bongs, you know. So yeah, that's what I went for. And when you read about it, you go, oh, okay, I'll learn all of these things, and it helped me immensely, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I did lots of reading up on things, and we've got a lot of family friends who were pilots, ex-Singapore airline pilots. Yeah, because when we lived in Singapore, a lot of pilots lived there. And they just obviously never understood. They were like, but we love our job. Like anyway, you see all their families there. We absolutely love our job. And lots of air hostesses married to pilots. That was all our sort of family of friends and stuff, and still are really close. So they just never really kind of got the fear. And so yeah, it was interesting talking to them, and they helped me as well a lot, actually.
Yeah. So talk us through a bit then, how you chose the route you did, like what you decided to do, why that particular course, and then what other things that you've learned. Because one of the things I particularly liked about your post when you wrote was that the fact that, being questioned by, when you talking to somebody else through it, like how much knowledge you seem to have got. So talk us how you, so just sort of rewind a little bit. Tell us why that course, when you did it, what else you've done.
So I think it was just the why was because I wanted to find out more. And somebody had done the day course years before me, and they said, "Oh, you should do it." Obviously, it was expensive at the time, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I can afford it." But I thought I need to do this for me, so that's why I kind of chose it. I didn't really. I don't know. I mean, this is going back 20 odd years. I don't think there were that many courses available. Obviously, now I would have joined you lot. I don't feel I need it anymore. That's the thing. I actually don't feel like, I feel like I've got all the knowledge that I need now, which is great. But yeah, so I learned a lot. I learned all about, where it kind of stems from. I kind of did a lot of deep digging, because they say, it's a subconscious fear of something, from our past and stuff. I was like, well, obviously I relate to my mum being scared, so she on to me. And then the actual physicality of the actual plane, sitting there and having the pilots explaining everything that's going. That was really important to me. Things and the bongs and just basically the air stewards talking to each other and the pilot talking to them. It's like, oh, they're just talking to each other. That's all it is. There's nothing else. It's like this like massive thing of these bings and bongs, and it's like they're really not that exciting. And then he's just telling him that, you know, you can now stand up, you know, the air hostess can get up off their seats and so so all these little things, it was just really interesting to hear. And then when we actually did the flight itself, the pilot saying, you know, at this altitude now, and we're going at this speed, and now we're here, and we, you know, just talking every single thing through was just really, really, really good. And then the different sensations of the flaps and all the noises, and then, you know, all of the what do you call it, coming down,
Undercarriage
undercarriage at the end, and everyone goes, oh my god, what's that? And yeah, it's just all of those things. You go, oh yeah, I know what this is now. I know what that is. So yeah, we were going on holiday to Greece just a couple. Well, was it last month? What are we now? September, August. And I was with my boyfriend and his kids, and his 7-year-old daughter was sitting next to me, and I was on the aisle. She was in the middle, and my daughter was in the window. And I literally talked everything through to her as we were taxiing out. And I said, you know, one plane's coming in.
Why was that then? Did you feel you needed?
She was panicking. Because she'd been on a plane for years. So she was sitting there, oh, I'm really nervous. And I was holding it. And I said, absolutely no need to be scared. And she was looking out, and I was explaining, you know, now there's another plane going up. And then, can you see that one coming down? And she's like, yeah. I said, and now we're going to move along. And it's basically, we're just waiting to get to the front. And she's like, oh, okay. And then as we get to we get to standing there, and then the noise starts getting louder. I said, that's fine. We're just going to go a little bit faster, and then we're going to take off. And then, you know, all of these things. And she was like, okay. And she was just holding my hand listening. And then we started banking. And I said, they only do 45 degrees. And that's all we're going to do. We're not going to go all the way. She was like, okay. Yeah. And then just saw the wings going in and out, and all just lots of different things. I was just explaining it all to her. And then the lady behind me at the end, we were waiting for our bags, and she came up, she tapped me on the shoulder, and she went, excuse me, are you a pilot? And I went, absolutely not. No, I'm definitely not. And I said, no, I'm actually a fear of flying person. And she went, no, you're not. And I went, yeah. She went, you literally explained the whole flight to that little girl. I was so impressed. I was like, oh, thanks. But it was, you know, and it was comforting, because I said to her, you know, if you don't want me to say anything, I won't. She's like, no, carry on telling me things I need to hear. It really has put me at ease. And I was like, oh, okay, that's all right then. As long as I'm putting you at ease. If somebody said, no, just stop talking, like I would have done years ago, don't talk to me. But she was like, I want to hear this. This is really hurtful. So, you know, whatever works for people, it's obviously.
So I'm curious, you know, like, so at what point did you give up the window seat?
Do you know what? It was when my children came along. So as soon as I had children, I wasn't allowed to sit at the window. It was just not an option. I want to sit by the window, and I was going, oh, I can do this. It's fine. You sit by the window, I'll sit. So that was it. And I also did not want to project my fears onto them. So I made really clear from the start when we flew, because, you know, they've been flying since they were little as well, that I never wanted to have that fear put onto them like it was, you know, onto me. And they're great. They're not bothered at all by it. So it's obviously worked.
Well, I think it does. We take a lot of, you know, as children, you know, you take a lot of certainty from the grown-ups around you, don't you? And say, you know, that's we've got nothing else to go on when we're little. So it's important.
Those people in front of us, couple rows in front of us on one of the planes, and there was a mother who was literally screaming because when we were taking off, and I was like, and the little child sitting next to her, I was like, why? Don't stop. I really wanted to go over to her and be like, please don't do this. But yeah, but it was she was terrified, like she was crying, and I was like, it was not fun to hear, not nice to hear, but yeah, I love it. I really do. I really enjoy it.
So what have you done? So you don't sound like you did the course and that was it. It was all magically gone away. It felt like you've had to do some stuff.
So I went through a divorce a couple of years ago, and I did a lot of work on just me as a person, and I sort of dug deep into, you know, a lot of me, working on myself and my subconscious beliefs about certain things, and fear of death, because I think a lot of it was a fear of death fear of out of control. And that fear of death, when I was growing up, I had a lot of friends whose parents died, like suddenly, like 3 in a row in my class, and we were only like 15 at the time
Oh my goodness.
in one class. And I was like, what is happening to me? I felt like it was like me, and it was like all, so death was a massive thing for me. So I was scared of dying. So obviously getting on a plane, you think you're going to die because of all what films you watch. You're like, I'm going to die on this plane. And look at all the people that died around me. So therefore, it's going to happen to me next.
Yes.
I had to kind of realize that they aren't real. Like it's not reality. That's not going to happen to me. And so I did a lot of work on myself and a lot of, and I sort of, it all went back to sort of mainly being adopted as well. The whole adoption thing of being abandoned and all of these fears that I had to deal with. So
Yeah.
it went a lot deeper than just the flying as well. So I did a lot of work on myself, did a lot of watched lots of coaches and mindset shift coaching, and had to do a lot of meditating, and I still do a lot of meditating. I do a lot of meditating every night. I listen to things in my ears all through the night, changing my fears, and it's changed my life really. And I think knowing that it's me that's in control really of my life, but you've got to let other people, like the pilots, being in control of that is it's been a journey, that's for sure, definitely, but I wouldn't change it. I sort of stumbled across Lovefly, and I was really strange because I was like, I don't really need to be on here, but I want to just read what other people are saying, and occasionally I'll read and go, oh yeah, I know exactly how you feel. I've been there. Like a Facebook stalker, you kind of read these like comments, and then
it's you, is it?
yeah, it's me. I'm one of them. But I'd love to reply to everyone. I just can't. I haven't got time.
Yeah, so I noticed you have, and also I'm sort of interested. Just I think who will listen to this be thinking, okay, so if they've got, lots of people have got stuff going on, but what sort of things would you recommend that were particularly helpful for you in terms of, did you do lots of talking therapies, or was it, so if there's things like that, and also this stuff that you're listening to every night, that might be quite, if you don't mind sharing, that might be quite interesting.
So I use YouTube quite a lot for that sort of stuff. I learned about like different laws. Like I know there's lots of laws, and there's like law of attraction, law of assumption, and I'm a massive law of assumption believer that what you assume is what sort of is what brought back to you. And I've done a lot of research on that, and that is kind of what's helped me through really, and is changing, like delving deep into your subconscious and delving deep into your childhood, and where all of your patterns and your belief system is formed. You form between 0 and 7. That's when your belief system is formed as a child, and then everything else kind of, you're sort of manifesting from that age everything that you believe in. So I had to change all of that. Like I wasn't abandoned. Like people still love me. I'm still chosen, and all this sort of stuff. So I've just done a lot of work on that, and gone onto YouTube, like looking for people that can help me with that. And I follow quite a lot of coaches on there that sort of talk about that. And then, I can't really think of one in particular. There are loads on there. And then I follow people like, Lewis Howes and people like that, the big coach names like that do mindset stuff. And I just immersed myself in learning about who I was again. And that's just helped me all round ground me as a person. So, and in turn has helped me get on more flights, I suppose. And not be scared of life, because I think I was just scared of doing things and taking chances, and now I'm just like, no, I'm okay, I can do this. And it's really just changed me as a person. So but I think you have to do the work, and I think not, you shouldn't be scared to do the work. I think a lot of people saying, oh, I'm working on myself, but they're not really working on themselves. Like they go to therapy really, but they have to kind of keep working at it. Like every single day, like keep just repeating how amazing you are, and like and that you're safe, because I think that was a lot of it for me, was I didn't feel safe in anything.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, you just have to keep reminding yourself that you're safe and that you're loved and that people around you love you, and that thing, and you'll be fine. So you just have to get rid of the fear of living your life, and you have to take chances and stuff. So that's kind of what I've done. It's just really worked.
I think we need a bit more name checking. So who did you say that the mindset coach?
Lewis Howes is one of the guys.
Lewis Howes, right? Okay.
So
Anyone else spring to mind? Is that stuff that you're listening to at night? Then is that what you would find helpful?
So at night time, there's loads. I can't. I'll tell you. I'll email you the names, and we can add it to this. But there are some that I actually just Google like nighttime meditations to sort of So you kind of have to like work out the beliefs that you've sort of picked up from as a child, and like for me, it was being abandoned because I was adopted. Not feeling chosen in my love life and things like that. So you've got to work out what it is that you come from. Some people have, parents who are addicted to alcohol and things like that, and then not feeling chosen, not feeling loved. And then all of that sort of is manifested into your adult life. So I had to like work out what mine was, and then change those and use just different affirmations. And every night, so it sinks into your subconscious mind at nighttime, because your subconscious mind is awake, whereas your conscious mind is asleep. So it sinks into your subconscious mind at nighttime, which is why I do them at nighttime. And then it just becomes like a habit. You wake up, you go, oh, I am loved, I am chosen, I am wanted, I am, and it just comes naturally. Whereas before I'd be like, I'm not chosen, like I don't feel chosen, I don't feel loved. I don't feel wanted, I was, they gave me up for adoption, but I am, and now I know that I am loved. It's not because I was adopted. Whereas a story that I held about myself, that because I was adopted, I wasn't loved. And that came from, even as a baby, even as a child, even though it wasn't true, but it's just something that you make up in your head. And it was fear of flying that I made up because my mum, projected that onto me, but it's not true. The plane is completely safe, So that's what I had to keep, it's just a constant battle with your brain sometimes, but you have to just keep going until it becomes, the one thing you say, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe, until you completely believe it. And then as soon as you completely believe it, then you feel fine. But it takes work,
How long do you think it took you to go from sort of being like, oh, I hate this stuff, to, like you did the course 20 odd years ago, but how long do you think after that you were like, actually, I'm quite sorted now on this fear of flying lark?
I would say it probably, I'd say straight after the course, I felt a lot better, but it was probably maybe 5 or 6 years down the line where I thought, no, actually, I don't even think about that. I'm getting on a plane. Like normally, the night before I get on a plane, I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd be anxious. And I just wouldn't sleep the night before. Whereas now I don't even think about it. I just go to bed, wake up, and I'm like, I'm going on a plane today. And that probably took about 5 or 6 years really, if I'm being honest with myself. And yeah, I think probably when the kids came along, so in my 30s, quite old now, so. But yeah, so probably a good 5 or 6 years until I really was completely okay. I still get anxious, and I still, occasionally when we're the turbulence, I don't particularly like turbulence, and I don't particularly like landing, weirdly enough. Everyone says they really don't mind landing. I read all these posts and I'm like, they all hate taking off. I'm like, I love taking off. I love the sensation of taking. But it's the coming down. I'm like, oh, let's just go down. Let's just go down. And I remember coming down once and seeing our shadow of the plane at the bottom. We were going down, and it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the next minute, it was going smaller and smaller and smaller, and going up and up and up. I went,
Well, you do it again.
no, we're meant to be going down. Why is it?
Get the memo.
Yeah, I was looking at the shadow, going, no, that's going the wrong way. It's meant to be getting bigger. We're going smaller. And the pilot was like, sorry, there's like a flock of birds or something on the runway, so we have to turn around. Are you kidding me? We're so close. Look.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it was not fun. But then we just went round, circled, and
Yeah.
but yeah. So yeah,
So what made you join the Lovefly group if you're kind of over it? What's that about?
I think for me, I wanted to see how far I'd come. I think probably, and I think it's somebody had posted it, or had shared it with me. I can't remember how I found out about it. So I'm a dance teacher, and I think it was one of my students is a BA pilot, and she posts about it all the time. I don't think it was her though that posted it. Anyway, somebody must have posted it, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I just came across it and started reading people's posts, and I was like, oh God, they're really scared. I was like, yeah, totally been there. So yeah, I don't know why I think it's because, I think it probably was just for me to read them to go, God, yeah, I have come a long way. Like I was a person. So yeah, it might have been a bit more of an egotistical thing, like not to go, ha ha, look how far I've come, but just go, for me, just be like, wow, I'm quite myself because I was that person. And I'd drink loads before I'd get on thinking that would help me. In fact, it made me worse, to be honest. So, a lot of things that I've changed now. I'll still have a drink, but I don't go crazy.
Yeah, you're not off your head. You get on there. No. Not helpful, yeah.
No.
Oh, that's really interesting. So, I mean, I think I was hoping so when you get those names out, because what I don't want to do is send people off on a mad sort of like YouTube search and end up listening to lots of nonsense. So that would be great to name check some safe sources. There's a lot of stuff out there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
But if you had to sort of like give your kind of sum up of like what you've learned through this journey of overcoming your fear, starting like 20 years ago, whenever it was, what would your top tips for the listening humans be?
I would probably say ask yourself where the fear really where it really comes from. Where does it stem from? Because once you know that, you can then work with that to change those fears. Was there a specific point? Like for me, I remember that really, like going through that thunderstorm and seeing the lightning, and my mum just being like, that for me was a turning point. And then just sort of taking a step back and being like, okay, that was just one incident, nothing happened, and you survived that. They go through thunderstorms a lot. So yeah, I think just really almost go back to your childhood if you can go back to childhood and go, okay, well, where is this fear coming from? Is it a fear not being in control? Is it a fear of death? Is it a fear of, there has to be something where it's come from. And then from there, try and I almost write down stories. I'm a bit of a writer. So I'll write down like my fears and then I'll flip them and write the positive. So I am not this, I am not that. I am safe, because that for me was a big thing. I don't feel safe and I don't feel in control. And so I am in control. I am safe. Those sort of things. So I would go back, work out where your fears come from, and then rewrite a story, if you know what I mean.
And what were you writing this in? Your journals?
And I'm a massive journal writer. I write a lot of things down. So yeah, I do. I write lots in my journal. And when I went through a really low patch, I'd write every single night. Now I don't write as much, but if I'm having a bad day, I'll turn to writing down, and just writing it down and then rewriting it how I want it to be instead. And then using those as almost like affirmations for myself.
Yeah. Quite disciplined then, aren't you? You do that. Yeah.
I think it takes discipline though to work on things like this, a fear or a phobia or anything like that. I think you can't, I would say definitely if you need to go get help, then go to therapy, to have somebody to help you. work things out, because sometimes talking about it, get a professional to help you.
So you feel like I feel like you've done yours, like you've done a DIY.
I did a lot of DIY, to be honest. Yeah. One, because I couldn't afford to do it, but two, because I was so determined not to be that person that I was. And I was like, I know that I can change. I know that I can be like a stronger person inside. So I did a lot of just, yeah. And it's funny when you start Googling things and you start researching things and you go onto YouTube and it's the powers of, technology and stuff. They ping you things that you might be interested in, and then you start reading and listening to something else. You go, oh, yeah, this is interesting. So yeah, that's kind of how I sort of stumbled across some of these and stuff. Women empowerment and all that sort of stuff. And just being in control of yourself. So that all of that kind of helped me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if I were to give any advice, is to just dig deep and be like, right, where is this stem from? And then go back to that. But yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Very welcome.
That's very good, CL.
No,
Both.
I'm no pilot.
No, well, the lady on that flight doesn't agree, but I think what I found interesting about yours is that you've done it all yourself. A lot of people go to somebody else. I've done a bit of both, mostly probably talking to somebody, but I find it really interesting that you've been able to do that just with your own sort of doing your journal and following things that you are interested in, that you think are helpful, and do all the work you do every night. I think that's amazing.
Thank you. I did therapy when I was younger, in my early 20s. Some of them weren't so good. You've got to find somebody that you resonate with as well. That's another thing I would say. Yeah. I mean, I had someone who fell asleep on me once. And I was like, yeah, you're not.
It's not a great sign.
Not a great start.
That's sort of like the ultimate feedback, isn't it?
Yeah, I was like, are you awake? Literally low. Yeah. Okay, no, she's not.
Nice. No, it's just really, really reflecting on what you've said and a really deep level.
I was like, you're not. But okay, I'm not coming back to you, by the way. So yeah, find someone that you resonate with if you go and see somebody. And then I found someone who was amazing, really, really good, and that really does make a difference.
And what was their discipline? Just because, I like to hear like.
So she was helping me. Well, we first had, my ex and I had couples counselling, so that's why we ended up going. But then we had individual counselling, and that's when I spoke to her about my life. And she was the one that I said, oh, I'd love to have my own dance school. And she was like, well, then why don't you? And I was like, I couldn't possibly do that. She was like, why not? And I was like, I wouldn't even know where to start. Just hire a hall, get a few students in, teach some students. I was like, you make it sound really easy. She's like, that is as simple as it is. And she was the one that made me do it. And I'm now have my dance school since 2013 with 200 and something kids in it, wow. Grown. And it's like, that has come from one lady who told me to just hire a hall. You just escalated and it just grew. So I think, sometimes to talk it through with somebody is a huge positive. But yeah, if you can't afford it, there is so much resource out on the internet as nowadays.
There is.
So, you have no excuse. You have to get off your ass and do it yourself. Excuse me.
CL spoken.
Sorry.
Self-love.
Yeah, with love. You do. Sometimes people need a good kick.
So we've got the CL apps coming out. Ass Kicking by CL.
Yeah.
Get off your ass. Yeah, lovely. I can see it. It's going to be very popular.
All right. Yeah. But I sometimes think, though, that people do get stuck in their own way, and they get stuck in their own head as well. And they think that they can't do things. But what I love about Lovefly is that you get so many positive stories about how, they've overcome this thing and they're getting on these planes and they're seeing the world now. And I just think it's just amazing. It's really, really good. And, people are changing, and that community itself is just, it's treats people for the better. So I think it's amazing what you've done. Brilliant.
Well, it's team effort, but thank you. And obviously, if they don't sort of respond to that, I'll send them around your way for an ass kicking.
Yeah, absolutely. Please feel free. Yeah, my door is open for asking.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, no thanks. But yeah, no, thank you very much. That's really good. I really didn't quite know what you were going to tell us tonight, but that's some really great stuff there. So thank you very much, and very grateful for your time. And yeah, brilliant, very good.
All righty.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I will.
Well, keep lurking in the group, like you can. Appreciate that, and the odd little comment that you do is fantastic, and I'm impressed at how far you've come. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of myself. Like, and I don't mean to be big headed, but I did do a lot of work. So
You definitely have. Amazing. Thank you.
you're welcome.